Elias Trent stood on the smooth white deck of the stellar courser and watched the alien capital grow large in the main window. Velar Prime was a bright lavender sphere wrapped in silver clouds. The planet looked calm, but Elias knew a single mistake down there could ignite a war that would scorch half the star lanes. He was the only human aboard the diplomatic cruiser. Everyone else, pilots, guards, stewards, belonged to the VLR Dominion. Their tall frames, ice blue skin, and silver eyes reminded him that he was a guest in a place where tradition ruled every breath. Elias was 27, slim and clever with machines. Back on Earth, he had rebuilt broken colony rigs and power cores that older engineers called hopeless. Now the Terran Coalition had sent him to fix something far more dangerous, the Heartstone Beacon, a living crystal computer that guided Villar battle fleets across the galaxy. If the beacon failed, thousands of warships would lose their secure paths through hyperspace. Panic, blame, and conflict would follow unless Elias could repair it first. Only a handful of humans even understood the ancient code hidden inside the crystal lattice, and Elias was the youngest of them. He felt the weight of that fact like a stone in his chest. The ship glided into a docking cradle above a shining palace complex. In ribbons of soft light traced landing lanes through the violet sky. A gentle shiver passed through the hull as clamps locked in place. The mission had begun. The first meeting, 2 palace guards in silver armor, led Elias through arched halls made of blue marble. Tall banners hung between columns, each banner carrying a single golden sigil, the rising phoenix of House Valari. The air smelled of clean water and blooming star-dash flowers. At last, Elias entered a circular chamber glowing with pale sunlight. In the center stood Lady Ceressa, Velara first daughter of the ruling house, keeper of ceremonial secrets, and rumored heir to the Dominion's hidden throne. She was almost 2 meters tall, her skin shimmered like moonstone. A crown of braided silver hair framed sharp cheekbones and cool, watchful eyes. Tradition said a noblewoman of her rank should not greet an off-world engineer in person, yet here she was. That alone told Elias how delicate the situation was. Ceressa did not bow. She tipped her head a fraction. "Engineer Trent," she said in clear, careful, basic. "Welcome to Velar Prime. You understand the importance of your task?" "Yes, my lady," Elias replied. He kept his voice steady. "Your Heartstone beacon is drifting out of tune. If its song fades, your fleets will be blind in hyperspace." "The beacon has served us for 10 millennia, Ceressa said. "Velar craftmasters claim it cannot fail." Elias gave a small, respectful smile. "I believe even perfect crystals can chip at the edges, my lady. I am here to polish those edges." Her lips tightened, as if she disliked hearing that anything Velar might be flawed. Still, she gestured for him to walk beside her. "You will have full access to the beacon chamber," she said. "But know this, if you damage it, I will be forced to act in defense of my people." Elias nodded, understood, as they walked. He noticed tiny cracks near the bases of the marble pillars' hairline shifts, almost invisible. Even the palace itself was not as eternal as Velar myths claimed. The thought sparked both caution and quiet hope inside him. Layers of suspicion, they descended into the palace heart, where temperature dropped and the walls changed from marble to living crystal that hummed like distant music. The guards halted. Before a set of diamond doors, Ceressa pressed her palm to a glowing sigil. The doors opened with a soft chime. The Heartstone beacon floated in the center of a vast chamber. It was a sphere 3 meters wide, filled with turning lights and slow waves of color. Thin golden rails formed a cradle around it, feeding data and power. Elias's mouth went dry at the beauty of it. He set his tool pack on a low bench. Tiny drones unfolded, each no bigger than a spider.
Damn.
They drifted toward the sphere, projecting soft blue beams that mapped every crystal facet. Ceressa watched without speaking. Her expression was unreadable, but Elias sensed doubt. He decided to speak plain truth. "My scans will look deep," he said. "I'll see code left by your ancestors. Some of it may be outdated." A muscle in her jaw flickered. "Careful, human. In this hall, ancestors listen. I will show them respect," Elias promised. But software ages, even sacred software. I repair, not replace. One of the guards stepped forward. Your drones appear. Weapon capable. His hand hovered. Near a stun baton, Elias shook his head calmly. Only welders and scanners, sir. No charges, no blades. You may inspect them. Saressa raised a hand, stopping the guard. Let him work. I will answer, if the council questions our caution later. That small act of trust surprised Elias. Perhaps she realized that constant suspicion would slow the repair and endanger her. Whirled still, he felt the pressure of unseen eyes. Somewhere above, the Dominion Council surely monitored every word and angle. Hidden cracks hours passed. Elias's drone feeds filled the air with faint holograms, maps of stress lines and data. Corruption. He spoke softly, explaining each point so Saressa could follow. See this ripple? He said. That is a timing fault. Your navigation paths will drift 1/10 of a degree every jump. Not dangerous at first, but after 1,000 jumps. Fleet could emerge inside a star, Saressa finished, her voice low. Why was this not detected? Irregular diagnostics skimmed the outer layer, Elias replied. This flaw hides deeper. It's like mud under clear water. Saressa folded her arms. Can you fix it? Yes, though. It will require rewriting. Fragments of prime code. I will keep the original logic intact. Do so, she said. But her gaze lingered on the ripple map, as if she saw her family's power wobbling with each colored pulse. A warning sign near midnight palace time. 1. Drone flickered. Its beams stuttered, then cut out. Elias caught it before it fell. That is strange, he muttered. He opened the drone's core. Its tiny power crystal was cracked. Crystals did not crack without force. He examined the chamber walls. Marks dotted a far corner, almost hidden behind a control plinth. Focused energy burst, carefully aimed. Someone had shot his drone while he worked. Elias swallowed. If saboteurs lurked inside the palace, then the beacon and his own life were. At greater risk than he had imagined, he walked to Saressa, speaking low so the guards would not hear. My lady, I suspect sabotage. One of my drones was attacked. Something flickered in her silver eyes. Anger, but also fear. She glanced at the guards, then back at Elias. Say nothing more here, she whispered. I will assign you chambers. In the East Wing, we will speak there under privacy seal. Elias nodded. Together they left the glowing hall. Above them, the Heartstone beacon kept turning. Song still lovely, but now Elias heard a faint discord, like distant thunder. Before a storm. Night on VLR Prime was never fully dark. 2 pale moons crossed the sky, and soft blue lanterns glowed on every balcony of the royal palace. In a quiet chamber of the East Wing, Elias Trent stood before a round glass table. Lady Saressa Valari. Close the privacy seals. The faint hum wrapped the walls. No sound could pass outside. Secrets under starlight. Saressa spoke first. You say someone attacked your drone. Why would anyone do that? You came to save the beacon, Elias answered. Someone wants the beacon to fail, my lady. If it goes dark, your fleets will wander, and blame will rise. That is someone's plan. Saressa paced. Silver embroidery on her long coat caught the lantern light. Many houses dream of weakening House Valari, she said, yet harming the beacon is unthinkable. It guides all viewerships, even those of our rivals. A broken beacon could kill them too. That means the saboteur is bold, Elias replied. Or desperate. Saressa faced him, arms folded. You do not understand our politics, human. If you accuse the wrong person, the council will crush you to protect its honor. I don't plan to accuse anyone, Elias said. I just need freedom to inspect every control line. Let me find the faults, and we can reveal facts, not guesses. Saressa studied him in silence. She remembered the heat of the blast mark he had shown her. She also remembered the ripple inside the beacon, evidence that something was already failing. Laju said she should trust the engineer. Tradition said she should trust only VLR hands. At last she nodded. You will have the access you need. But you must pass every change through me. I alone will present your results to the council. Elias dipped his head. Agreed. Weight of a dynasty. Before Elias left, Saressa opened a small silver chest on her desk. Inside lay a crystal signet ring, shaped like a bird with outspread wings. She slipped it onto her finger and held it up. "This is the crest key," she said. "With it, I command the beacon's master circuits. Whoever wears it holds the right to guide Velar war fleets in the Grand Muster." Ilias's eyebrows rose. "Then your family rules the stars because of that key?" "In part," Saressa admitted. "Long ago, my ancestors forged the beacon and linked it to our bloodline. If the beacon fails or, if anyone proves it no longer answers the crest, my house will lose its claim. The council would elect a new guide family. Now Elias saw the larger danger. A single glitch might not only blind warships but also shatter Saressa's family power. The saboteur's motive became clearer. Saressa slipped the ring off and placed it in the chest again, as if it burned her skin. "That is why every counselor watches your work. They expect you to fail or fear you will succeed and expose their own negligence." Elias spoke gently. "I am here to keep ships safe. But if truth changes politics, we can't hide it." Our eyes flashed. "Easy for you to say. Your own future is not tied to our ancient oaths." Elias met her gaze. "Maybe not. But I know what it feels like to carry a colony's water recycler on your shoulders. If it breaks, everyone thirsts. Duty is duty, whether to a town or to a throne." For a heartbeat, Saressa's stern mask softened. She saw not an upstart human, but a fellow caretaker of lives. She turned away before he could notice. Shadows in the council while they spoke. In another wing of the palace, High Counselor Varric, Valeris Saressa's uncle, met with two shadowy officers. They knelt before him. "The engineer lives," Varric said, voice low as frost. "I expected a faulty drone to end his trust, perhaps a small accident to end his life. Yet he walks." The room was guarded, one officer replied. Lady Saressa would not leave. Varric's hand tightened on his staff. "I must not be linked to any attack. But the beacon must fail during the final ceremony. Our new jump matrix is ready. House Varric will guide the fleets instead." The officers bowed. "It will be done. No more direct strikes. We will twist the crystal code itself. When the human tries to mend it, he will finish our work and take the blame." Day of difficult questions. Morning bells rang. Elias and Saressa entered the beacon chamber again. This time 4 extra guards formed a circle around them. Their faces were blank. Elias could not tell friend from enemy. He released his drones, but before they flew, the ranking guard stepped forward. "By order of the council," he announced, "we will record every scan and command you send. Any unauthorized pulse will freeze your tools." Saressa lifted a brow. "That was not in the agreement." "New agreement," the guard said. Elias kept his voice even. "That is fine. Transparency is healthy." But inside he worried. If saboteurs controlled the guard feed, they could alter logs and paint him guilty. The drones began mapping again. Elias spoke each discovery aloud so everyone could hear. Sector 7. Minor thermal drift. Sector 9. Checksum mismatch. At Sector 12, his voice froze. A pattern of dark fractures spidered through the inner core. They pulsed, almost alive. "These lines were not here yesterday," Elias said. Saressa leaned closer to the screen. "Explain." "It looks like fresh stress," he answered. "Someone injected false timing signals overnight. The crystal bent to compensate. One more surge could shatter it." A guard whispered something into his sleeve. Elias caught only 2 words. "Council report." Teresa heard nothing but saw the whisper. Suspicion tightened her shoulders. Elias took a slow breath. "I can cold seal the fractures, but we must isolate the root signal first. If not, the stress will return stronger." "Do it," Saressa said. She turned to the guards. "Clear the room. Engineer Trent needs focus." "We stay," the ranker replied. "Council orders." Saressa's voice dropped to iron. "And I outranked the council inside my family hall. Gore explained to my mother. Why you disobeyed House Valeris's blood command?" Reluctantly, the guards left, cameras blinking red in their helmets. Once the doors sealed, Saressa exhaled. "Work fast, Elias. We may not get another chance." Sparks of partnership side by side. They traced the false signal path. It led to a hidden relay behind a decorative column. An ancient panel stamped with the crest of House Varric. Elias pried it open. Inside, a tiny crystal chip pulsed dirty code into the beacon line. Ceresa's hand shook as she lifted the chip. "This is my uncle's crest. He sat at my cradle blessing." "Why would he risk so much?" Elias placed a calming hand on her arm, then quickly pulled it back, remembering royal distance. "Ambition can blind anyone," he said softly.
Down.
"You know the threat." Ceresa's eyes hardened. "I will bring this to the council." "Not yet," Elias cautioned. "If he learns we found it, he may accelerate his plan." "Let me finish sealing the fractures first." She hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Very well. But after you seal them, we act." Rumors spread, news seldom stayed caged in the palace. By midday, whispers raced through crystal corridors. The human metals. The beacon cracks. Lady Ceresa hides secrets. Servants glanced at Elias with fear or awe. Some bowed, others spat on the marble after he passed. In an outdoor lunch court, a young Villarade approached Ceresa. "My lady elders demand your presence this evening." They question the engineer's methods. They say he plants faults to claim heroes' fame. Color drained from Ceresa's cheeks, but her voice stayed firm. "Tell them I will attend, and then they who accuse without proof will regret it." A silent oath near sunset, Elias finished his sealing pass. The fractures cooled, lines fading to calm blue. The beacon's song grew clearer, though still off-key. He turned to Ceresa, "Stable for now. But your uncle's chip was only one attack. We must search every relay." She drew a sharp breath. "We will. If the council blocks us, we will go around it." Elias gave her a small grin. "Partners, then?" Ceresa touched the empty place where the Kresge usually rested on her. "Finger, partners, till truth wins." The next morning on Villar Prime, the palace walls felt colder. Lady Ceresa Villari stood by a long window, her eyes focused on the eastern sky. Light danced across the towers, but her thoughts were far darker. Last night, she had watched her uncle's secret chips send false signals into the beacon. The very system her family was sworn to protect had nearly been destroyed by her own bloodline. Now she faced an impossible task: expose the truth without starting a war inside the council. Behind her, Elias Trent worked at a glowing data panel. Small drones hovered quietly nearby, scanning the next layers of the beacon system.
Out there.
Soft hum filled the silence. "I found 3 more relays like the first one," Elias said, not looking up. "All linked to House Varric, all feeding subtle faults into the beacon's core." Ceresa turned slowly. "My uncle has prepared this betrayal for years, and no one noticed." "Or they looked the other way," Elias replied. "Tradition can blind even the wise." Ceresa walked to the table. "If I accuse him now, he will deny everything. The council will protect him unless we show them proof they can't ignore." Elias pointed to his drone feed. "Then we show them this. Ops. Code signatures, signal paths. What? We build a case stronger than pride." She nodded. "But time is short. The final beacon inspection is in 2 days. That's when they'll try to frame you," Elias sighed. "Let's stay one step ahead then." Eyes in the dark later that day, Elias returned to his guest quarters in the East Wing. As he walked the quiet corridor, he noticed something strange. The 2 guards normally outside his door were missing. He stepped carefully. The door opened without trouble. Inside, his room was untouched. Almost a pillow had fallen on the floor. A drawer was slightly open. His datapad was gone. He looked around, then walked to the wall screen and tapped a silent alert. Back in her private study, Ceresa received the signal. She activated a hidden channel and saw Elias's message. "Room searched. Pad missing." Stood up at once. A dangerous message that night. Ceresa met Elias in a storage chamber below the main hall. Old scrolls, banners, and dusty tech filled the space. "Untouched by guards or cameras, they want your data," Ceresa said. "If they control it, they can delete the proof or edit it to show false commands from you." "I've already sent encrypted backups to 3 satellites," Elias replied. "But if they twist my live logs, the council won't believe me." Ceresa walked to a dark cloth bundle and unwrapped a small black box. This is an ancient beacon colder than the main one. Disconnected centuries ago, still stable. Elias raised an eyebrow. Hidden history? Hidden truth? She answered. We'll use this to test a sealed program. No outside links. If the code fails here, we'll know it's been poisoned. Loaded the test file. The old beacon pulsed softly, then sparked red. Elias stepped back. The main beacon's core logic has been altered. If I upload a standard fix, the sabotage will trigger a meltdown. Ceresa's expression froze.
Then,
their plan is worse than we feared. You won't just be blamed for failure. You'll be blamed for destruction. Council pressured the next day. The High Council met in the tall dome of judgment. White light filtered through the crystal ceiling. Counselors in silver robes filled the great circle. Ceresa stood tall at the center. Leah stood beside her, hands behind his back. Counselor Varric rose slowly. Lady Ceresa brings us updates on the humans' progress, he said with a fake smile. We are eager to hear good news. Ceresa bowed slightly. Engineer Trent has uncovered several hidden faults in the beacon's control net. These faults are no doubt the result of his unfamiliar tools, Varric interrupted, as we feared. Perhaps too much trust was placed in alien methods. Gasps whispered through the chamber. Elias stayed calm. He had expected this. Counselor, Ceresa said, keeping her voice steady. The faults were confirmed by ancient equipment from the vault. The damage existed before the human ever touched the beacon. Varric's eyes narrowed. Then I suggest a full investigation. He cannot take risks. Till then, the engineer should be confined for his own safety. Several counselors nodded. Ceresa stood firm. House Volari does not imprison allies without cause. I take full responsibility for Engineer Trent's work. Any attack on him is an attack on our honor. Now the room grew silent. That was a bold statement, and everyone knew it. Varric's voice was calm but sharp. Very well, but we will observe. His final repairs. Any mistake, any delay, and this council will act. A quiet betrayal that night. A soft knock came to Ilias's door. He opened it and saw a young palace servant, nervous, shaking. I bring word, the servant whispered. Someone inside your team feeds information to the council. They plan to shut down your system tonight. Ilias's jaw tightened. Don't know. But they asked me to install a blocker in your drone room. I said I'd do it, but I came to you first. Elias placed a hand on the servant's shoulder. You did the right thing. Stay quiet. We'll handle this. Once the servant left, Elias sent a short message to Ceresa. Inside, threat confirmed. Meet me in drone lab. Midnight. Truth in the open that night. Ceresa and Elias met in the lab. He showed her the blocker, small round device hidden under the main console. It would have scrambled his drone data during repairs, ruining everything. Stared at the device. This was meant to end your mission. If we hadn't found it, I'd be blamed again, Elias said. The beacon would collapse. She looked at him with serious eyes. We must move faster. Tomorrow you'll finish the last repairs. I'll bring our evidence to the full council. No more hiding. Elias nodded. If I fail, they'll arrest me. You won't fail, she said quietly, and I will not let them take you. For a moment they simply looked at each other, no titles, no duty, just understanding. The sun rose behind the silver towers of Villar Prime. Golden light fell through crystal windows as the palace woke to another quiet, dangerous day. In a hidden chamber beneath the eastern wing, Elias Trent stood beside a glowing console. The Heartstone. Beacon hummed softly nearby, its colors shifting like a slow-burning star. Beside him stood Lady Ceresa, Velaradler, calmer but clearly troubled. This is it, Elias said, adjusting the controls. Today I repair the final connection. After this, the beacon's full function can be restored. Ceresa nodded. And tonight is the final inspection before the council. They will watch everything. Elias tapped the screen. Then we need to be sure they see the truth. Planning the risk, Ceresa stepped away from the console and lowered her voice. I sent coded messages to 2 counselors. They are not loyal to my uncle. They might support us, but only if we give them hard proof. We have the damaged relay chips, the blocker device, and the old beacon test, Elias replied. Will that be enough? Only if it reaches them before the vote, she said. He looked at her carefully. He could still step away from. Let me finish the work. Let the politics fall where they may. Saressa shook her head. No, my house swore to protect the Dominion, not play power games. If my uncle takes control through lies, then tradition means nothing. Elias smiled a little. It almost sounds like a human idea. Saressa raised an eyebrow. Perhaps we're not so different after all. Sabotage. Again while Elias worked. Saressa checked the security screens. At first, nothing seemed odd. Then, in the corner of one feed, she spotted a strange figure dressed like a servant, placing something under the data link console. She reacted quickly. Elias, someone just planted another device. Stay here. She sprinted down the hall with 2 guards. They caught the figure just as he tried to escape. Under his coat, they found a signal disruptor, one that could have erased all of Elias's data logs during the final upload. The guards held the saboteur firmly, as Saressa questioned him. Who sent you? She asked. He refused to answer. She leaned closer. Tell the truth now, or face exile from all Velar systems. At last, he muttered, High Counselor Varric. The guards looked stunned. They had heard rumors, but now it was confirmed. Saressa gave the order. Take him to a secure chamber, quietly. Then she turned to Elias. We were right, she said. My uncle sent another agent. Now we have a witness. Elias exhaled. Good. That might turn the vote. Preparing for the storm by late afternoon, Elias completed the last fix on the beacon. Soft chime echoed through the chamber. The floating crystal shifted from pale blue to pure white, the color of perfect harmony. It's done, he whispered. The beacon is fully balanced. Again, Saressa allowed herself a small smile. You've done what even our oldest engineers could not. Elias sat back, exhausted. Now we show them what tried to stop it. They gathered all the proof, the damaged chips, the forged code, the sabotage device, and the confession. Placed it all into a sealed evidence case marked with her family crest. There is one more law we can use, she said. Elias looked up. What law? She opened a small scroll, the right of sovereign declaration. If I speak it during the council, I can step outside all ranks and call for public judgment. Isn't that risky? It is. Once spoken, I lose all titles until the council decides. I become no one. Elias frowned. The final gathering that evening, the grand hall of the council was full. Hundreds of nobles, elders, and guards lined the silver walls. The beacon floated above a stage in the center. Its light was strong, calm, and beautiful. Counselor Varric stood near the front, tall and confident. Today, he announced, we witnessed the final report from the human engineer and Lady Saressa Valari. The council will judge the beacons. State hand the path forward. Saressa stepped forward. Elias walked beside her. Whispers passed through the room like wind. She raised her voice. I bring evidence of sabotage crimes against the Dominion and against truth. Gasps filled the hall. Varric's smile faded. Wild claims from a rushed outsider? Where's your proof? Saressa opened the sealed case and placed each piece on the table. Here is the false chip, the damaged code, the second sabotage device, and the confession of your hired servant. Varric stepped back, but his voice remained steady. Lies, tricks. The human planted these. Then Saressa did something no one expected. She removed her royal sash and placed it on the ground. Declare sovereign declaration, she said. Until this is judged, I give up all titles. I speak only as a citizen of Velor. The room went. Silent truth wins one by one. Counselors stepped forward. They examined the items. They reviewed the hidden signal paths. They listened to the servant's confession. Then Counselor Drennan, old rival of Varric, spoke up. This evidence is clear. Counselor Varric, you acted against your duty. Varric's voice rose sharply. This is madness. A trick to shame me. Others had seen enough. Another counselor stepped forward. By law, sabotage against the beacon is treason. You are stripped of rank and placed under trial. Guards moved toward Varric. He tried to speak again, but Saressa raised her hand. You used tradition to hide lies. That ends now. As Varric was taken away, the hall turned back to Saressa. Counselor Dren walked to her and bowed. You may reclaim your title, Lady Saressa, but I believe your leadership speaks louder than any rank. She nodded quietly. Let the truth lead us. A quiet moment later, on the palace balcony, Elias and Saressa stood alone. The beacon is safe, he said. So are your people. Thanks to you, she replied. You came as a mechanic, became something more. Elias looked at the stars. So, what now? Saressa smiled. Now, we build something new. The beacon glowed with quiet strength above the grand hall, its white light calm and perfect. For the first time in years, the ancient machine was whole. But the hall was not calm. Outside the palace, messages spread across the stars. House Varric had fallen. Human had fixed the beacon. A noblewoman had broken tradition to save her people. Inside the high chamber, many nobles whispered in corners. Some were afraid, others were angry. A few were curious. What Saressa Valari did yesterday had changed everything, divided Council Saressa. Sat at the edge of the chamber, no longer in her noble seat. She had the right to return. She waited. The council had not yet voted on her full restoration. She had given up her title by land. She would not take it back without their voice. Elias stood near her, silent but alert. He saw the way some counselors looked at him like he was a problem too big to ignore. A human in the heart of Velor politics was a symbol they weren't ready for. Counselor Dren stepped forward. The beacon is safe, and the truth is known. But we must speak about what comes next. Another counselor, tall and cold, replied, Tradition must be protected. We cannot allow a human to change how our council works, even if he was useful. Murmurs filled the room. Saressa stood slowly. Then speak plainly. Do you wish to hide truth behind pride? Or will you listen to the people who now ask why one outsider did more than your best engineers? The room quieted. The people's voice far below the palace, in the wide city streets. Things had changed. Velor citizens, dressed in flowing robes and tunics, gathered in large numbers. They watched the council session broadcast on sky screens. Many had once followed tradition without question. But now they asked hard questions. Why did Lady Saressa protect the beacon when others failed? Why did House Varric lie? And why did a human, just an outsider, save our star paths? Elias's name was now spoken with quiet respect. Not all approved, but many were no longer loyal to silence. Inside the palace, Saressa's aide rushed to her side. My lady, he whispered, public support grows by the hour. If you declare reform now, many will follow. Saressa looked at Elias. He gave a small nod. Then let's begin, she said. The Propa Celaressa walked to the center of the hall. She wore no crown, no sash, no armor, just a plain coat, with her house crest faded in silver thread. Her voice was steady. I speak as a servant of Velor, she said. Not as a noble, but as one who chose truth over comfort. The hall listened. I propose a new council seat, she continued. A place for outsiders, for humans. For those who bring fresh thought, skill, and hard Evan, without old bloodlines. Shock moved through the room like a wave. One counselor stood, red-faced. This is madness. You ask us to share power with aliens? Elias spoke calmly and clearly. It's not to take your place, only to bring new eyes to old systems. I have seen how much beauty your world holds, but even beauty must grow, or it fades. Some nodded, some frowned. A long silence followed. Then Counselor Dren stood. The council must vote. A close decision, each counselor stepped forward, placing a crystal token in one of two bowls, change or preserve. The bowls filled slowly. Tension built. When the final vote was counted, the results showed 61 for change, 58 for preserve. A narrow win. But a win. A new council seat would be formed for one outsider voice. A human would advise the Dominion. The crowd outside cheered. Inside, a few elders walked out in silence, but others stayed, curious now. Saressa turned to Elias. "You've done more than fix a machine," she said softly. "You've helped fix a future." The last attack that night, as peace began to settle, danger returned. Elias walked through a quiet corridor. Suddenly, a blast shook the wall. Smoke filled the air. Two masked figures appeared, weapons raised. "Enemy of tradition," one said. "You brought shame to our people." Elias ducked behind a pillar. A shot sizzled past him before he could move. Saressa arrived with guards. Her voice rang like thunder. "Stand down." The attackers turned, but were quickly stunned and disarmed. Elias stood slowly, brushing off dust. Well, that was close. Saressa looked furious. "Not all accept change quickly, but we will protect it." A new path. The next morning, Saressa stood again before the council, this time with full support. Her title was returned. Her uncle's sentence was passed, and the new seat, called the Open Voice, was prepared. Elias was offered that seat. At first, he hesitated. "I'm no politician," he told Saressa. "You're more than that," she replied. "You're someone who dares to speak when silence is easy." He accepted. The first human ever to sit in the Dominion's highest chamber took his seat beside Saressa. The Hall of Stars on Villar Prime had never looked so different. Once, it was a place for quiet tradition and strict law. Light streamed through open windows, and voices from many worlds echoed in the tall chamber. At the center sat Elias. Trent, wearing a simple black coat with a new emblem stitched on his chest, a silver star crossed with a rising wing. It was the mark of the Open Voice. The new council seat made for an outsider. Beside him sat Lady Saressa Villari, now fully restored to her title. But she wore no heavy robes or glowing crown today, just a soft gray cloak with her family crest. In white, she had changed, and so had her world, one step at a time. The council was still made up mostly of Velar nobles, and some still whispered when Elias spoke. But they listened now. In the past weeks, he had helped revise fleet routes, offered new ideas on trade systems, and suggested open training between Velor and human pilots. His voice didn't command, but it guided, and Saressa backed him every time. One morning, as the council ended a session, she turned to him with a soft smile. "You're learning our ways fast," she said, "and you're breaking yours even." "Faster," Elias replied with a grin. They walked side by side through the wide palace garden. Blue flowers bloomed between silver stones. The air was calm. An invitation from Earth that afternoon. Signal came from the Terran Coalition, the Alliance of Human Colonies. Elias opened the message while Saressa watched. Ambassador Trent. The voice said, using his new title, Earth, wishes to invite the Velar Dominion to a formal alliance. Trade, science, peace exchange. Saressa raised an eyebrow. "We've never joined another alliance. We've always stood alone. But maybe it's time to stand together," Elias said. "Imagine what we could build together." She looked at the stars on the screen, thinking, "I will speak to the council. Some will resist, but not all. Trouble from the past? Not everyone was happy with the new changes. In deep space, small groups loyal to the old ways had started to gather. They blamed Saressa and Elias for weakening the Dominion. One such group called themselves the Keepers of Flame. They sent secret messages to nobles, warning that the old light must return. One message reached the palace, carved on a silver tablet. "The beacon was ours. The future is not." Saressa read the words and frowned. "They will not stop easily." Elias nodded. "No, but they're losing power. Light always fights hardest before it dies." A test of trust a week later, a joint mission was launched, a test of the new alliance between humans and Viella. A human ship and a Viella ship would travel together through a complex hyperspace, retusing the freshly repaired beacon system. And Elias were invited to watch from the command center. The mood was tense. "Are you sure the new coding will hold?" she asked. Elias looked at the readings. "It's solid. We tested every line twice." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Ceressa stood straight. Elias held his breath. 3, 2, 1. The two ships jumped. Light flashed. Then silence for 5 long seconds. Nothing moved. Then connection re-established. Both ships arrived safely. The control room cheered. Ceressa let out a slow breath. Elias smiled. "It works," he said. "It does," she replied. "And now they've seen it with their own eyes." The quiet garden later that evening, Ceressa and Elias sat in the palace garden under the stars. No guards, no council robes. Just two people who had been through storms together. "It's strange," Ceressa said, looking up. "I once believed tradition was unbreakable. And I once believed no alien would trust a human," Elias replied. She turned to him. "Do you still feel like an outsider?" He thought for a moment. "Sometimes, but less each day. Because of you." A soft wind passed between them. She looked away, then back at him. "And do you think we were meant to meet?" Elias smiled. "I don't know, but I'm glad we did." A new beginning. In the following months, changes moved faster than anyone expected. A new council chamber was opened, with seats for voices from other allied worlds. The beacon network expanded, helping trade and peace across distant systems. Velar citizens began learning other languages, and humans began studying Velar history. For the first time in generations, Velar Prime opened its doors to visitors. Diplomats, scientists, students, people from different worlds walked the same halls, and always, Ceressa and Elias led together, not as queen and subject, but as equals. The last promise one quiet morning. As the beacon sang gently in the background, Elias stood alone in the chamber. He placed his hand on the smooth crystal surface. "You brought me here," he whispered. "You challenged me. Now you've given us a future." Ceressa entered behind him. "You're talking to the beacon again?" she teased. "Just thanking it," he said. She stood beside him. "Where will you go next?" He looked at her. "Nowhere unless you're going to," she smiled. "Then we go together."